Hello everyone, this is Cyber Eric with another gameplay explained video. This is for Crimson Desert, one of the latest third-person action-adventure games coming out. And it's a pretty complex-ish game to explain, so it's going to take a while. But before I start, I would like to ask everybody to please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out. So let's go over some of the basics of movement, combat, etc., etc. And we're going to start with movement and how the game basically plays and you move around. So this is me basically walking, talking to characters. You're going to have this gorgeous open world. By the way, this is captured on a PlayStation 5 Pro. In case you have any questions, yeah, you can pet animals, etc., etc. This is me basically pressing the stick all the way forward. So when you press forward, you just walk. To run, you have to press X. So it kind of has like this movement style like Red Dead Redemption 2 or other games, where you have to accelerate by pressing a button rather than just moving the stick around. And so that'll feel a little bit off. And that kind of movement also works with horses, for example. If I push forward on the D-pad or on the stick, that's how it moves. I have to press X and he will accelerate, follow the other character around. By the way, you will notice throughout the footage, the game is very pretty, very gorgeous. This footage was captured about a week and a half ago, so there has been some patches already for the game, and I know the game's getting constant updates. Another thing you can do is climb. You can climb basically kind of like Breath of the Wild, and obviously as you move them here, you're going to be running around, finding things out, and you can basically climb any surface as long as you have stamina. Obviously you can crouch. And obviously you can also jump. Jumping is its own button as well, so basically you have to kind of press X, direction, and square, so it almost feels like you're driving a little bit of a car. You're basically driving the character rather than controlling the character. It kind of feels a little bit weird. You will get used to it, but that's kind of how it works. And for example, here I am in like a little bit open world, and once you run out of stamina, for example, I'm trying to climb up here, not enough stamina, right? So you have to kind of manage that. And this is captured from early on in the game just to show you basic movement, etc., from the game. I'm not going to show anything like super advanced late in the game because that's not the purpose of this video. And you can catch enemies, etc., or items or bugs, etc. One of the main things is this little toggle or aiming reticle. You're going to press L1, at least on the PlayStation controller, and you're going to be able to aim, and you're going to be able to kind of interact with the world. And you're going to see that little icon all over, and I kind of wanted to showcase this because it's one of the main things. For example, I'm aiming down, and I see the dog here. I basically press square, and I can pet it. If I press the same button, L1, I get to aim, I get to select the different characters, and you're almost kind of aiming what you want to interact with. Or note to self, when you're talking to somebody, you're kind of stuck to them. You can't just walk away. It feels a little bit weird. The mechanics, well, for example, if you go to a vendor, you aim, and then you can see, for example, their wares. If you want to talk to them, you're aiming to decide what you want to interact with the world. Obviously, the game has vendors and other things that'll show you different things throughout the game. One other thing, for example, him showing it again. For example, if I want to interact with that chest, I have to kind of aim down, aim at the chest, and press square. For example, I press square, but I let go of the L1. He didn't do anything. I have to do it again. So it kind of feels not intuitive at first, based if you play other games like this, like The Witcher or anything like that, but you'll get used to it. Another thing you can do with that L1 aiming mode is you can actually use it to do precise jumps. Precise jumps, basically you can see the instructions in the top left, press L1 and press the jump button, square in this case, and you can jump around. If I aim, I can basically decide, oh, let me press square to untie this person, right? That's like a story-driven thing, but that's kind of how it shows you how you can interact with the world and some of the basic movements that it helps you. For example, if I want to grab this particular goat that's on the ground, I have to aim at it, press square, and I can pick it up. Yeah, and that's basically how you're going to interact with the world. When you enter a room, there could be 50 different things around the room. You're going to have to want to look around and see what you can interact with, see what you can grab, see if you grabbed like plate or whatever. But let's go into basic combat. Obviously the game is an action-adventure title. It has a basic combat. Combat is done with the triggers buttons at the top. So R1 is your basic combat attack move. You can also press L1. Yes, that is the same button as the aiming thing that I showed you, to parry and do particular other things. And again, the game gets very complex, so for this video, I'm just trying to go over the basics. If you press R1 and R2 at the same time, you'll go into one of your special abilities, special attack things that you see there. And this is all footage from the tutorial to show you how it's done. Basically, here is basic combat where I'm just running around. These random people attack me, and you can basically fight them, right? I'm just in basic attacks, and there are some very cool animations to like finish enemies off. When you're fighting enemies, they're not gonna wait for you to one-on-one attacks. It's not Assassin's Creed, 2 or whatever. You're gonna be attacked at the same time, and here I'm just basically pressing the R1 button, seeing how enemies I can attack. People are shooting at me. You can shoot arrows as well. The L2 button is specifically for aiming and shooting the bow and arrow. So you have ranged attacks with the L2, and with the R1 and R2 you get your light and heavy attacks. Here in the open world, again, people attacking me kicking them, etc., etc. You're gonna have all these different moves and motions. I'm just trying to show the basic combats of the game. So you can get a glimpse of like, this is basic stuff. It gets a lot more complicated if you see any videos on YouTube. This can get very complicated very quick once you add like powers, the powers that you have, and I'll showcase those relatively quickly at the end of the video as well. We just kind of wanted to show some of the basics. For example, here I am parrying and just doing my basic attacks as well. And that's how you're gonna be able to fight enemies. Here's one of the special attacks. And after you defeat enemies, you can basically aim at them and search them for loot. You can also upgrade your different abilities or combat with the skills menu. And depending on the points that you have, you can upgrade your abilities. For example, you have here, you can restrain enemies by pressing that combination of buttons. You can clothesline them like wrestling moves. You can hold on to the big enemies like that, as you see in the video there. And you can upgrade this thing. So there's a huge map for how you upgrade them. And for example, how do you learn some moves? If an enemy, for example, this enemy right here, drop kicked me. And because I saw the move, you get to learn. And the game will show you. The game will slow down and show it to you like that. That's how you learn moves, other than using your upgrade points. So the environment, I kind of wanted to show what the game and the map is about, because that's one of the main things that you kind of want to learn what this game is about. So obviously, big open world, as you see there. You can fly or obviously float, if you will. You really can't fly. You can't go up, if you will. This is part of the campaign, so it'll drop you off and you can get to see the map, for example. But basically, you're going to be running around, either walking, using your horse, which you can summon at any time, at least if you can summon it in the open space. And if you're in a cliff like that, you can just run around, summon the little glider that you have there, and you can zoom in. You have to monitor your stamina, though. You run out of stamina, you will fall, you will take damage, right? It's not other games where it's realistic enough that you can explore the world, but you have to watch out for your stamina, altitude, etc., etc. As you're walking around, you will also find these platforms called Abyss Nexus, or where it's basically fast travel points, and you basically unlock them as you play throughout the game. So again, here I am in a particular early hub camp of the game. I just kind of wanted to show basically this is a regular camp. You're going to be here with other NPCs, and here's your inventory, and you obviously have a map that you can activate. And you'll be able to find different objectives on the map. I'm showing just the basics here to not add any spoilers. Plus, this was captured at the beginning of the game to show basic movements. But you have a map, and you have a camp, etc., etc., that you can use. And in those maps, you can either lay on bed to rest, etc., etc. And you can also have a storage unit. And this is, for example, private storage that I'm using. And I basically get to place all the items that I find throughout the game. There is a weight management system that you have to manage as well, right? So you want to make sure that you know where these are. Another thing is, for example, as you're exploring the world, for example, I found this interesting. Waterfall, it's like gaming trope 101. It's like, oh, perfect. I'm just going to go behind the waterfall. And surprise, alas, you always have to manage your stamina, as I mentioned. But alas, I cannot enter that. Well, at least not yet. That's my understanding. But again, just wanted to show the waterfall. You're going to be running around, finding different things, scaling, managing your stamina. For example, here I am showing this footage just to show that I was walking around and I found this cellar right in the middle of nowhere. So I decided, cool, this might be like a bandit, treasure spot for where people place loot or whatever. So let me go in there and check it out. And you're gonna find these random things throughout the environment, and that's one of the cool, interesting things of playing Crimson Desert, where it's more like a simulator in a way rather than just your average action adventure game. And again, it is tricky to play and control. For example, here I am aiming, and you can see I can grab the base if I want to, but I'm trying to manage my weight, etc., etc. And you obviously have, for example, things like a lantern. You have that at the very beginning, and if you use it to aim, you will be able to highlight things that you should either follow, like energy, or interact with. One of the things you also find when you're playing the game is this post-it notes, right? These posters that people hang in posts and walls, and you're able to grab them. You actually have to physically read them, like physically hold them in there. It's not just grab and you have the quest. You have to physically hold them in front of the character, grab them, hold them in front, like I'm pressing here. I'm pressing L1 to examine, and you'll be able to grab that quest. For example, I got this paper to rescue this goat. So I went, I found the goat, I killed the enemies, I rescued the goat, grabbed the goat, held it, hold the horse, and now I'm rescuing the goat and taking it back to its owner. That's a quest. And I just wanted to show you because it's basic stuff that you will be doing. It's not just all glamour, explosions, etc., etc. For example, you can find this here. One of the cool things about this is the bounty system. The game has like a wanted system where you can find different papers of different NPCs that are, for example, I'm hunting this Bianca lady, and she's an outlaw. I'm supposed to apprehend her, and I have a picture of her. She's dressed like a monk, and the reports are that she's in this house or in this church. So I'm just walking around trying to open up doors, see if I can find her. And I'm walking down the stairs, and what do I find? That character starts running away from me. So immediately I go, oh, I'm gonna chase this character. I don't know what's going on. And here you say, press square to tackle, and I tackle her, and immediately I go, oh, she's asking, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, am I tackling the wrong person? The game doesn't tell you. And again, this is me hesitating. But I commit that this is the person that I want to arrest. And again, I'm not sure. The game doesn't tell you. This is 100% the person, even though the game really does tell you. But the game, the way that the audio and the characters are talking to you, it makes you feel like you are arresting somebody, but you're not 100% sure, right? You only know the person you're looking for is in this location, and they look like this. So, for example, I'm showing you the entire step process for when I grabbed the paper. I went to the spot, I found this NPC, I grabbed her, and I grabbed her, lift her up, and I walk over to where the cops are to arrest her, right? And again, I just cut the walking part. Basically, this is it. This is basically like 30 seconds later. I get to the post. I arrive with her, and I walk in, and they're like, "Oh, this is it." And then let's take a look. And it's like, "Oh, impressive work. This is the person." And I'm like, "Perfect." And again, I've done this a few times, but just wanted to show that that's one of the things that you will find and do in Crimson Desert that you can find throughout the environment. You walk around, you see particular NPC that you have a wanted poster for. You can arrest them, and obviously you have to walk them through. Another thing I wanted to show is you can do some basic stuff that you will see in games, like for example, you can mine materials like ore here. So here I am, you have to grab the pickaxe, and I have to literally go break the rocks, very cool animations, and then afterwards you just grab your loot / iron ore, and that's basically how you're going to be doing things like upgrading your weapons, items, etc., etc. You can also cut wood. And so you're basically gonna have a lodging axe. You basically have to aim, and you literally have to cut the tree. Obviously, it's quicker than it would take in real life. But for example, the tree goes down. It can hurt you, by the way. It's not game. It's like a simulation kind of thing. And just because you cut the tree down doesn't mean the wood magically appears Metal Gear Solid style. You actually have to cut it into small pieces until you can find the timber. Right, fine timber, and then once I cut the tree, I basically get the materials that I need, and that's how you get wood, right, or timber, and that's materials to upgrade your weapons, etc., etc. You can also cook, and again, I'm just trying to show some of the many things that you can do. There's a bunch of other things you can do. These are some of the basic things you will see in Crimson Desert, and you basically grab the different ingredients, and you can cook, and it'll give you a stamina, energy, health, etc. etc. Also, when you're walking around, sometimes a character will just be like, oh, I saw something over there. So you're like, he's pointing in that direction, and the game will tell you, the game will highlight it, like you see there on the screen. And now you're gonna be like, okay, let's go up there. So I climb that roof, and I find this. Now again, this is early on in the game. I don't even know what this is, but I was very happy that I followed this. So as you see characters, random things or events will randomly happen, and you can follow them or not. That's your choice. And here I found an abyss artifact. For example, I also found these flowers, and I'm like, oh, they're so pretty. And I didn't notice that they were killing me. So you will find dangers too, right? This is not just a random exploration thing. You will find danger. Other things here, for example, you can liberate regions. So one of the complaints was like, well, apparently once you defeat enemies, they kind of stay dead. There are physics mechanics. So for example, I want to enter this fort or this tower, and the grass is basically blocking my way. So what I do, fire, arrow, light it up, and you can walk in, and you can grab whatever you need there. And if you walk in, you also have to be careful. There could be traps. Like I just showed you there. I activated that trap, and you have to be careful as to when you walk around. For example, if I want to disable this trap, I can either use the arrow to be very precise, I can use melee, and now the trap is disabled. And that's things that you're going to find in the environment. I kind of wanted to show it. Here's a cool thing that I just captured, literally for this record. I saw this cat just crying and up there on the roof. So I'm like, what's going on here? So I'm like, hey, buddy, how you doing? Let me rescue you. And literally, and you can see upstairs where it says like knowledge acquired. And now I have knowledge of this cat that was lost in this, trapped in that shed. I kind of rescued him. You can even pet him, which is kind of cute. And that's the environment when you're going to see when you explore the world. You're going to find different things to do and do them. So let me go to some of the powers and abilities. And I'm going to go high level on some of these. For example, this is called the Blinding Flash. This is something where you basically get to highlight light into particular objectives, right? So you can spot enemy weak points or find special hidden items throughout the game by using this ability. You'll get this early on in the tutorial where, for example, I have to aim it. I have to grab the light. And again, it's weird to see, but you'll get used to it once you use it. And then I activate the door. Door opens. And you'll be using mechanics like this throughout the game. The game will give those to you in the first couple hours. The different abilities that I'm going to show here. And there's probably more to acquire, but for the most part, I wanted to show the basics. For example, here, if you press L3, right, the stick, you get to use the Axiom Force. So this is basically like this little gauntlet that you get out in your hand, that you can grab things, and you can move them around. Think of it like Tears of the Kingdom, the kinetic mechanic where you can actually capture things in the air and move them around. It's a little bit more finicky, a little bit more unprecise, if you will, but it's a cool mechanic. And for example, here you can use it to move things around. You can also use it to move yourself around. So I can like zoom in. And for example, if you can upgrade different abilities for this as well. So if you go to the pause, you go to the skills. If you have points, you can activate, for example, this aerial swing, which I have just unlocked. I'm basically trying it for the first time here, and you can see basically I'm like, ooh, let me try it here. Let me grab into the house. And again, it's tricky how you use it. You will get used to it, but the buttons are not exactly the most intuitive. But here I am using it, and after you do that, you can use the glide. Again, watch your stamina. You will take damage. But these are the kind of things that you can see and do in the environment. Another thing is this, like force push or axiom push, where you basically do this melee attack, the force palm, and you basically get to push things inward. For example, I'm trying to push this block in to connect the electronics so that I can complete this puzzle, right? And you'll be using that a lot. You'll be using that on enemies. You can use it on enemies if you want. It's also a mechanic. For example, here I am here, and I'm basically using that force palm to basically push these blocks in so I can connect the string of energy. And that unlocks additional things in the game. For example, another thing I wanted to show is that you can use these abilities in the air. For example, here I am using the Force Palm. If you can see it here, I'm using the Force Palm there. And you can also use the Axiom Force, the little hook shot. Another thing you can do, and again, basic stuff for Crimson Desert, is you can use something called Nature's Grasp, which is basically you can lift things like Psychic, like Phoenix from the X-Men. You can basically grab things, lift them up, and you can basically move them around or even use them. For example, here's a tree. It basically asks me to use that axiom force. I basically can lift it, or I can just grab the tree, and I can literally use it as a club if I wanted to. In here, I'm just using it to rescue somebody that's inside a fire. But those are some of the mechanics or powers you will see. Obviously, you can also upgrade these, as I mentioned. You can upgrade your movement abilities, combat. You can also upgrade your magic, if you will, abilities there. And there's a bunch of them here, like focus, etc., etc. But those are the basic. That's the basic overview of the abilities that you will see. So, quick wrap up, because this video already took me too long when I was setting up together to kind of go over the basic gameplay elements. You'll find a lot of secrets. For example, this is early on in the game, but you'll find things like this where there's like a magical roof where you can see below, but you can't walk in. You'll figure out how to get there, and you figure out how to unlock things. You'll have your powers, and you'll be also running around finding different things out. You'll be walking around and fight like an area that's been fought over. Well, you'll be able to find people that need rescuing, need NPCs. And obviously there's a story, there's different characters you will meet, there's different mechanics. I found these animations that are very cool at the very beginning of the game, so I put them here in this video. And you'll be able to find even particular bosses, etc., etc. For example, this enemy is doing a pump kick into me, so when I saw it, I learned it, bang, and immediately I used it on him. And you are going to be fighting right here in the middle of the street against enemies, but that's mostly it for Crimson Desert. I'm wrapping this video up. I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It is appreciated for the channel. I hope you like this video. And this is Cyber Eric Gaming. And please follow for more content. And as always, have a good one, everyone.